in a flagrant violation of both, a warning that Trump received from the judge in the courtroom, and from the terms of his own gag order. We now have definitive proof that Trump is intimidated. A juror at his own criminal trial. What we began today was 7 jurors. One of those jurors, an oncology nurse, asked to be dismissed after she expressed concern over aspects of identity being made public. So that we're clear, a juror in the United States of America is afraid of being harassed or hurt or worse by virtue of participating in a trial regarding Trump's campaign finance violations. If that is not an indictment of the danger posed by this guy, I don't know what is. The news comes on the immediate heels of Trump's post on Truth Social from yesterday, where he wrote, "They were catching undercover liberal activists lying to the judge in order to get on the Trump jury." And so think about the practical effect of that post. Now Jesse Waters' audience, and of course, Trump's audience, are going to believe that anyone who's on the jury is nothing more than a liberal activist who is out to fool prosecutors and to getting themselves seated on that jury, which means they become targets for Trump supporters. Vitriol, the same vitriol that ruined the lives of Georgia election workers, Shame and Ruby Freeman, the same vitriol that caused thousands of Trump supporters to storm the Capitol on January 6. The danger posed by these people isn't theoretical, it is real, and it's ruined the lives of countless people, and these jurors are not blind to the reality of that danger. So when Trump takes the Truth Social and posts of the jury as a bunch of low-key liberal activists, he knows what he's doing, and those jury members know the practical effect, the danger of what he's doing. This is juror intimidation and nothing more. And what's worse, Trump has figured out a way to give himself cover. Even if he's not even bothering to use that cover, he knows that while he may be bound by a gag order, his mouthpieces aren't. And so what you're left with are moments like this one from Fox host Jesse Waters. Here's what we know about them. The foreman, juror, number 1. He's a salesman from Harlem, who was born in Ireland. He used to be a waiter, didn't finish college and likes anything outdoorsy. He's married with no kids. His wife's in school. He gets his news from the New York Times, the Daily Mail, and some Fox News and MSNBC. Never met anybody who watches both Fox and MSNBC. But okay, that guy's your jury foreman. Juror, number 2, a nurse from the Upper East Side with a master's degree. She's not married, has no kids, and lives with her fiancé, who works in finance. She gets her news from the New York Times, Google, and CNN. She said 2 things that really stuck out. 1 quote, "I don't really have an opinion of Trump," and quote, "No one is above the law." I'm not so sure about juror number 2. That juror number 2 would ultimately drop out, because Jesse Waters and Trump didn't like that. She said no one is above the law, which obviously cuts against these guys' feelings about Trump, which is that he is absolutely above the law. Let me think about this for a second. The right has become so radicalized, so extreme, that something so banal as no one is above the law is threat to the autocratic rule that Trump and his minions want for this country. But sure, party of law and order got it. And so, regardless of whether Trump deigns to abide by the term set forth in his gag order, moving forward, he's already signaled his intent, loud and clear, and his accolades have already heard him. They will continue to attack jurors, because they've got nothing to lose. They figure this is a New York City jury anyway, that's prepared to convict Donald Trump, and so they'll just continue to try and sabotage this thing, because dysfunction and chaos is where they're comfortable. And more insidiously, if they can convince even one jury member to side with Trump out of fear for his or her life, if he's convicted, then they'll have done their job. The goal for these Republicans is always to destroy whatever is in front of them, to the benefit of one person and one person, only their God King Donald Trump. And let's be clear, in case there was any doubt, that what Trump and his mouthpieces are doing isn't violation of the gag order. It is the guy Goda clearly says, the Trump is prohibited from making, or directing others, to make public statements about any prospective juror or any juror in his criminal proceeding. Not only that, when Trump was in court, Judge Marchand himself rebuked Trump for making an audible gesture toward a juror, warning him, quote, "I won't have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom," meaning that Trump has already been warned not once, but twice on this exact issue. I spoke with my Legal Breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner about this issue, and here's what he had to say. If we already have the warning yet, yes, we haven't had this hearing yet. It happens on April 23. So that's next Tuesday, where we determine what the punishment is going to be for this first raft of violations of his gag order. But this kind of does feel like it's the first warning and already to Avon. Back. Bragg has said, okay, let's just find him the statutory maximum, which is a day per violation, and then the next raft of violations, the next tranche of violations, is going to include jail time. Could that mean that like the warning already happened, even though we haven't had the hearing? And so then, if Trump does act out and intimidates any jurors, then that warning has already been done, and he can just go straight to jail. I think the warning has been delivered, formally and forcefully. I will not tolerate you intimidating witnesses. In this case, write that. Forget about the upcoming hearing. On the 23rd, he's already gotten a warning from judgment on this issue of intimidating. I would agree, and I don't think it has to be prefaced with, let me put you on notice that this is a formal warning that, if you intimidate witnesses again, you can be held in contempt. It is virtually a court order. Brian, when a judge says you will not do anything that intimidates witnesses, I will not stand for it. And that is what Judgment and Substance just said. That I think is an effective warning. That could be followed by a summary, Conti, bang of the gavel if Judge Marchand perceives that what Donald Trump did was designed to intimidate a juror. And of course, Glenn and I will be doing comprehensive coverage on a daily basis of this trial. So if you want to catch that coverage, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. But beyond that, and perhaps more importantly, here's Glenn again, explaining how even Trump's efforts to intimidate jurors could backfire on Trump among those jurors themselves. You can hear, in the words Judge Marchand chose when he saw what Donald Trump did, heard what Donald Trump said or the noise he made and how he reacted, was, I will not have you intimidate the jurors. I mean, that is a pretty strong admonition coming from the court, and it is a pretty clear sign that what Donald Trump is doing in the courtroom is designed to, and perhaps even likely to, intimidate jurors. That is not a good thing for anybody. Most pointedly, it's not a good thing for Donald Trump because Brian, I prosecuted a lot of folks who were charged with horrendous crimes. I don't say I prosecuted a lot of bad, horrendous people, even though some of them were, but I prosecuted a lot of people who I think, based on what they did, presented a real danger to the community, to the victim, to society, and jurors watched every single thing the defendant did in court, even if the defendant chose not to testify, exercised his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Throughout the trial, they were absorbing important information about the defendant, and if they perceive that the defendant is acting up, misbehaving, trying to intimidate, in my experience, it backfires. Jurors are not going to be intimidated into saying, you know what, I believe the evidence proves guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, but I'm kind of scared of the defendant, based on how he was acting in court, so I'm going to vote not guilty. But what I do think a defendant, like Donald Trump, runs the risk of is having jurors say, you know, this is a closed case, but I saw what a fool that defendant that man was. I saw him mugging. I saw him. We have a term that I'm trying not to use, because it's really profane. I saw him shooting death glances. I'm going to choose that one instead, at the witnesses as they testified, as at audience members, and perhaps worst of all, 18 jurors, and I will not be intimidated, and I'm voting guilty because the evidence proves him guilty. Donald Trump, I would say, is acting like a child, but that's an insult at children. But what he's doing will absolutely inure to his detriment during the course of the trial. But regardless of the long-term effects of this, the immediate move right now will be from judgment on Tuesday's show cause hearing, where I think we all understand that Trump won't be thrown into jail, even though there is already a 1000% justification to do exactly that. But he should absolutely be given a clear and definitive warning. This was strikes 1 and 2. Issue one more violation, and you will spend the next 30 days per violation, the statutory maximum inside a jail cell. Which, to be clear, is exactly where Trump belongs, if not for the 34 felony charges, these contending with then at a bare minimum, his inability to not interfere with, and intimidate, those who are seeking to hold him to account. His mob tactics may have gotten him this far, but right now is when it stops. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to the channel, and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads. I won't ask for money. But just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial, Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.